3 out of 4 ain't too bad, especially against the pesky Mariners for the Tampa Bay Rays.
Are the Mariners now pesky, not the Rays? Oh my gosh, how times change.
How the tables have turned.
Yeah.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
Sleepy Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And you can email us, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Ulysses, are you partially sleepy because you thought the Rays would pull out a 4-game sweep, and at the very last moment they did not, so that disrupted your evening and beyond?
I will tell you, the late games are just they're brutal, man. Yeah. This whole week has been brutal. And they were close. And I know that there's some faction of the fandom that's going to be like, oh, come on.
You're kidding,
you
right?
couldn't do 4-game sweep after a 3-game sweep.
Who is this guy? Who is this accent guy?
I don't know. But they're out there. They're out there.
So you're supposed to go 162-0.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, this team has been incredible. I mean, 6 in a row, get snapped, fine. But it was a close game. It was a getaway game. It was Mother's Day. So many factors, and I think we still saw really good baseball, maybe not offensively speaking, but good pitching, good bullpenning, tremendous work by Yarbrough yesterday on Sunday. It's a nice bounce back for him. I think there were, even at a loss, there were positives in it.
Yeah, definitely some positives. And I mean, look, big picture here, like you said, Ulysses, 6 wins in a row, winning 13 of their last 17 games. The Rays are in the driver's seat right now. Now, it might get a little bit more testy. This might be more of a, okay, how good really are you against the Angels on the road in this 3-game series? More late night baseball, which we'll get to later on in this episode. But I think despite the loss, it was great to see Yarbrough battle and get through 5 innings pitched, 4 singles in a walk, and that's what you need from. We can't continue to have TBD bullpen days. That's just not going to work out for the entirety of the season. So for him to be able to keep the fly balls inside the ballpark and dot the edges versus the lefties and the righties, and not get out of his element after a mistake, for example, Francisco Mejia messing up the transfer while Eugenio Suarez is at the plate, you still are able to retire him. Little things like that make a big deal. Getting some lefties out on backdoor pitches. If Yarbrough, not saying that every start will be like that, but if he can be sort of a calming presence, I don't know what it is. I guess, wasn't it Seattle where he almost had that complete game a couple of years back?
Yeah.
It might be because he's, he might be very comfortable in that element considering he is a former Mariner pitcher.
Thank you. Yeah, we're so organic and sometimes it looks so in sync. That was my next point. He is a former Mariner. Zunino was a former Mariner. They both had really good weekends. Yeah. I think there's some psychology to playing against your ex team. I don't know if it can be the data can be extracted on how you play with your ex team, but I really do think, this is my theory here, folks. You're on either end of the spectrum. Either you're a complete masher and you shut down the opposition of your ex team and you look fabulous and your ex fandom is like, damn, really, bro?
Yeah.
Or it's what happened to Diego Castillo and it's just meltdown city. And that's my conspiracy theory. If you're playing your ex team, you're either going to be on one end of the spectrum or the other. There's no in between. There's no 1-for-4 with a bloop hit. That doesn't exist. It's either complete mashing and complete shutting down the opposition or complete meltdown. And what we saw on Saturday night, it was on Saturday night. Yeah. Dude, that was tough looking at Castillo, struggling on the mound. I mean, Franco, easy hit on the sinker. Harold Ramirez drops one off with the slider. Then there's a wild pitch. You're thinking, the wheels are coming off, and nobody in Seattle is doing anything about it. And then ultimately, the grand slam happens. It was tough looking at Castillo like that.
Yeah. I do want to say this. I think from every game over the course of the weekend, there's positives to take out. And I know we're not locked on Mariners, but I've also got to give a shout out to George Kirby making his MLB debut, getting called up from Double-A and having the type of performance he did. I mean, he comes right up, strikes out the side against the Rays. And I think, again, we're not a Mariners podcast, but just looking at it from that lens, the Rays facing them, it almost seems like that might be their Shane Baz, and he might be the guy that, not saying he's the savior, but when the Rays were struggling last season, against the Mariners, they had that sweep. It was like, okay, we got to make some kind of splash. Let's call up Wander Franco.
Yeah.
And they went and did that. And I think you could see the same for George Kirby, because with that slider to lefties, oh my goodness. And then just being able to put that 97, 98, 99 fastball above the bats of most any Rays hitter, pretty impressive stuff. So I think he's going to be a big component for this team going forward. Something that they need a little bit of a spark, because as the Rays are doing so, have been sliding. They're kind of two teams in opposite directions right now.
Yeah, I mean they've lost 3 series in a row, and they had a really bad road trip to the East Coast facing the Rays and the Marlins. Didn't have a good time coming back to the West. So then, it happens. I don't think the Mariners are in any type of trouble. But going back to the Rays, man, I do want to point out, I think the defense is starting to shine again. And it's just a part of how when things are going right, everything else just kind of falls into place. You didn't see the bats heating up. Then the defense was starting to falter. We were like, what is this? This is not the fundamentals. The base running was all over the place. I feel like some of those things that we were zooming in maybe 10 days ago and being frustrated about them, now they're not such a big issue. The defense, Isaac Paredes, that arm, love it. Strong arm, accurate from his knees, made a play. Rasmussen and Diaz had a great, PFP type play in his start on Saturday. I think it's starting to happen.
Well, Isaac Paredes might not see him for a while, considering he was sent down. But
it's still. I mean, it was still an impressive play, regardless of him being in AAA.
Taylor Walls, absolutely, over the last week and a half. Brett Phillips, we know about all that he can do. Yeah, we've seen some good glove work for sure. Bet Online, it is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs, as well as the start of the baseball season. Bet Online, it is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. So head over to the website or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet Online, it is where the game starts. Speaking of defense, I did notice a Brandon Lau miscue on Sunday's game past the diving B-Lau. Now I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Diving to his left, and it ended up not scoring a run. I think the Rays got out of it yesterday before the Mariners came back and won the game, but it was just outside of his reach, outside of his realm. So I get your point there. Again, it's only one play, but I imagine that's happened more than once, I guess.
Yeah. And what frustrates me is that those types of plays that you're talking about, it's the glove is right there. It's either up or down. It's either a little bit too far to the right or to the left. And he could have made the play and doesn't make the play. That's what's frustrating. Like, if the guy dives and the thing was too hard hit, okay, fine. Like, that's a hit. But like, you were there. You had the shot to make the play. That's what's frustrating.
Sort of like if a ball is thrown to a first baseman and hits the glove or part of the glove, it's like you should find a way to be able to get to that some way or another. Maybe Brandon Lau just needs to grow a couple more inches or have a longer arm. I don't know.
That ain't happening.
Yeah. But all in all, very, very, very positive weekend for the Rays. And as I alluded to, I think each day there was something to take. You look at Thursday's game. Shane McClanahan outpitched Robbie Ray for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
He didn't last as long, but he still went toe-to-toe and, was as good, if not better than him. Friday, in that 8-7 win, Randy Arozarena, 4-hit performance. That was something that was really, really needed. And eking out a win on a bullpen day where the Rays used 6 pitchers, and also thanks to Randy and others, the team took advantage of runners in scoring positions. Here's the thing.
Explosion of runs, too. 8. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Thursday's game, 4-3 win. Friday's game, 8-7 win. This series very well could have gone in a much, much different direction, but a win is a win is a win. Of course, Saturday, the Mariners just didn't come to play. The Rays put it on them, winning 8-2. Thankfully, Brandon Lau starting to show a little bit of power with 2 home runs. Another strong outing and performance from Drew Rasmussen, a Pacific Northwest kid. Maybe there's something to that homely feel, if you will. Again, if Yarbs puts up what he did and Drew puts up what he did, 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, that's really, really what you're looking for. And then Sunday, of course, yes, it was a loss 2-1, but Manny Margot ahead comes back and returns. We're actually a little preview. We're going to go in depth on Manny Margot and Yandy Diaz, how great they've been this season on Tuesday's episode. And of course, Ryan Yarbrough stepping up to the plate, so to speak. So I think all 4 days there were some positive things that you could glean. And I think I buried the lead a little bit.
Okay.
Brooks Raley was extremely valuable over the course of the weekend, used in 3 consecutive days, earning a win, a save, and a hold. And now you start to see, okay, this is why the Rays were comfortable with giving him a multi-year deal worth, $10 million that could be worth up to $15 and maybe $19 million, basically throwing a lot of money at a reliever, which the Rays don't typically do.
And you know what? He looks good. He looks the part. I really... Man, it would be so exciting to be a fly on that wall on that meeting where they had with Brooks Raley and the agent and said, hey, this is what we have.
This is what we're offering
on you. Not only what we're offering you monetarily, but what we're offering you lengthwise with years, and why we think that this is going to be the right place for you because of this, that, all the charts that they probably had, all the information. Like that must have been one of the best, most entertaining, most fulfilling meetings that front office has had. Because like now that you see Brooks Raley, like you see the potential, you see what they probably saw 6 months ago, maybe a year ago when they were scouting this guy. I think he's a very stable part of the rotation, part of the bullpen, which, man, it's so that's all you ask for. Yeah. And this is not a knock on Kittredge, because I mean Kittredge has been really great this
Kittredge
season.
Will hang sliders on occasion. It happens.
Yeah.
It happened against Detroit last year. I remember it.
Yeah, but 14 innings and a third, 180 ERA. He's done fine. Like you're going to blow saves. It's just going to happen. But no, going back to Brooks Raley, I think he's their high leverage guy. It doesn't matter if it's in 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th. Oh, we have to close it. It's a 1-run ball game. Yeah. Cool, Brooks, here you go. Oh, it's the 7th inning, and there's men on 1st and 2nd and no out because our starter didn't get us deep there. Right. Boom, get us out of there.
I guess, is it fair to say this year's Colin McHugh, except Brooks is really only used as a 1-inning guy for the most part, at least so far.
He's like an Andrew Miller. Yeah. He's an Andrew Miller type. Like he's your best guy, and now you're going to deploy him whenever you need him the most. Yeah. He's like a Nick Anderson, actually.
Yeah. Except healthy. Here's some fun numbers on Brooks Raley. 2 ERA, 0.67 whip, 12 strikeouts in 9 innings pitched. Of course, he's got the kitchen sink of sinker, cutter, changeup, slider, and curveball. And let me mention this. I'm looking up his Savant facts right now. Average exit velocity, 100th percentile. Can't get any better than that.
Wow.
Hard hit percentage, 100th percentile. Can't get any better than that. Fastball spin, 91st percentile. Curveball spin, 94th percentile. Strikeout percentage, 92nd percentile. Whiff percentage, 87th percentile. This isn't a guy that throws 98, 99, if I recall.
Yeah, no, this is fantastic. And I'm still, even though those percentiles were tremendous and I appreciate them, I'm going to go back to that big old traditional stat, that whip, 0.67. That's you yummy lick your fingers at that whip.
Yeah.
Because a 0.67 whip coming from the bullpen, that's a guy who's going to attack the strike zone and with powerful, not even powerful stuff, but like dominating stuff where the result of it being hit is probably has a good chance of getting caught. Has a good chance of getting fielded correctly by your defense, which if it's working correctly, which we've noted that it is in the last 10 games or so, man, it's good things. Good things are going to happen.
Again, you don't have to have a blazing fastball to get guys to chase and swing and miss. And that's what Brooks Raley is doing right now. And I think he's sort of, just as Manuel Margot and Yandy Diaz fall under the radar, I think Brooks Raley is sort of falling under the radar to some extent until we bring him up and talk about him a little bit. So good on that front. You mentioned yummy and delicious. Something else that's yummy and delicious, I think we can agree on, Built Bar.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, if you want to go crazy, you can put them a little bit in the microwave and then have some fun with that on your fingers, people, because it's covered in 100% real chocolate. Built Bars, you know them, you love them. There are so many flavors. You won't ever get tired of them. So you got to go to Built.com, because when you go to Built.com, you have so many flavors to choose from, but there's a little thing that we can give you. It's a promo code, and it's locked15, which gets you 15% off your order at Built.com. So today, get your fingers all yummy with chocolate. Bars are healthy too, by the way. Calories range between 130 and 180. Come on, people. It's not going to get better than that. It's like, Brooks Raley coming in a high leverage situation. It's not going to get better than that. You've got it. Built Bar. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get yourself 15% off at Built.com.
All right. The Rays began a 3-game series against the LA Angels to wrap up this 9-game West Coast road trip. And it's not going to be easy, at least the way the Angels have played so far this season. Now, I know they've gotten a breather playing the lowly Red Sox and the Nationals, but they still are 19-11 and have as good of, if not a better record than the Tampa Bay Rays. And the pitching matchups, as they look so far tonight, we'll have Jeffrey Springs getting the start going up against Noah Syndergaard, who has had a resurgence and seems to be living up to that, $20 million one-year contract that the Angels gave him. The Angels needed starting pitching, so they had to go out and get it one way or the other. Tomorrow, we've got Corey Kluber versus Reed Detmers, who's basically just an innings eater, 5 ERA type young guy too. And then Wednesday, this is the marquee. This is, if there's only one baseball game, one regular season baseball game that you're going to watch this entire season as a Rays fan, or maybe just a baseball fan in general, this will have to be the one. Shane McClanahan versus Shohei Ohtani. I don't know if this is going to be on national television or how, whatever. Find a way to watch or listen to this game. I'm sorry.
And there is no excuse. It's a 7 p.m. game on Wednesday. It's a 7 p.m. game on Wednesday, just like if it were at the Trop. So, or maybe, 30 minutes after we're at the Trop now that with the game time change. But regardless, it's 7 p.m. Wednesday, Ohtani v. McClanahan. That, I mean, I'm going to take off my Rays hat for that one. That is just pure good baseball fun. I have an issue with rivalries sometimes.
Okay.
And there's a point where I think rivalries are needed. Red Sox, Yankees. But I think sometimes they're dumb.
Do we need them 19 times a year?
Well, there you go. The Angels. Especially in the last 3 years, I love watching Trout do incredible things in Ohtani. I mean, Trout's been doing it for like 10 years now. But so I don't really see a rivalry there. Seeing them play against the Rays, though, it's always a treat. Yeah. And so, like, I treat the Angels series just because there's like two of the most generational talents. Like, your grandkids are going to tell you, what? You got to see Mike Trout?
Yeah.
What? You get to see Ohtani? What did he do? Like, that's the kind of reaction you're going to get, except with a lot of bleeps. And you're going to be like, grandson, what are you talking about? What are you doing? Dropping those bombs.
Is that the same guy from the first minute of this episode? Is that the same voice?
Yeah, it's the same guy. He has grandkids now. Yeah. He's less of a troll.
There are going to be some annoying grandkids.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I'm excited about this series. It's Trout, it's
Yeah.
Ohtani, I love it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, yeah, obviously I want the Rays to win and I want them to win the series, but like you said, you put your baseball cap on and just enjoy it, because that's what I'm going to do.
Just appreciate great ball players, and even Syndergaard. That's going to be something to watch too. So there's a lot to really like. This isn't the underachieving, at least so far. This isn't the underachieving Angels of the last 8 years, where they've got Trout and some other superstars, and they've got a ballooning payroll of $175 million, but they're only going to win between 77 and 84 games. Like, this team, I think they're on pace to make the playoffs. And what's funny is that, Mike Trout is absolutely having a great season, but it's really not just Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. It's guys named Taylor Ward and Jared Walsh, who are having huge, huge years. And part of the reason why the Angels are first in baseball in runs scored and tied for second in homers in all of baseball and third in OPS in all of baseball. So the offense is carrying this team. Their starters have been very good this season between Syndergaard, Shohei Ohtani. The Rays are going to miss out on Sandoval and somebody else. I can't think of his name off the top.
Sandoval must be my guy.
Michael Lorenzen. He leads the team in innings pitched. He's converted to a starter. He almost, I think, went a complete game the other day. So
in the offseason, he said he wanted to be more have a longer leash.
Right. So again, I think this is going to be a really fun series. And LA Angels Stadium, you've been there, right?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Yeah, I was there in 2012. And also, I want to talk about the fact, man, when Ohtani is being used this often, does that, as a baseball fan, kind of like worry you, or are you just like in for the ride and it doesn't matter, whatever, you're a Rays fan, so you don't care?
As far as like at bats?
Yeah, I mean, dude, he is not given a day off. Like, Ohtani has been on. The bat hasn't woken up so far. Maybe it doesn't wake up too much during this series, but I don't know. I've seen his innings pitched. I've seen his game logs, his at bats, and I'm like, man,
look, they're milking.
Are you just rolling the dice? Yeah,
they're milking him for the $4 million that he's making this year before he really cashes in. Like, again, you kind of feel bad for him, but he's he's the reason, one of the reasons, among others, that people are packing the stadiums and going to watch and focus on the Angels. But honestly, like, I don't really necessarily focus on the day-to-day of what Shohei Ohtani is doing when he faces the Rays, or if there's a game on national television, or, maybe this year the Angels actually make the playoffs and, the world can see the greatness of Trout and Ohtani. But it's not like I'm waking up every morning and saying, oh my gosh, why haven't they given Ohtani a day off yet? Like, I haven't really focused on that whatsoever, to be honest.
Well, this is the thing. This is again like a generational talent it feels to me like, man, he must say, hey, I'm feeling fine, and they're using him all the time. It's Joe Madden too, so I would have thought a little bit of rest management would have happened there.
This might be a decision over the front office head. This could be an Artie Moreno decision of, if he's available to play every day, have him play every day.
Well, also, they've been kind of a joke, the Angels have been, in the last decade, because you've got the best player on the planet, and he has 9 at-bats in the playoffs more than I do.
Again, perennial underachievers. You can bank on them going 77 and 85 or 80 and 82. Like, that's what they do. That's what they've done over the last 6, 7, 8 years. And the last time they made the playoffs was in 2014.
Yeah, so that's why you have to kind of, retool your draft order and then get a bunch of pitchers in last year's draft. And then what did you do during the offseason? Get a lot more pitching to help out, the guys that you've got the bats. And you're right. Ward is just tearing the seam off the ball. I mean, he has the team triple crown right now, basically above Trout on everything, on base, slugging, hits, average.
Who would have guessed, you look back a year and a half, 2 years ago, that Taylor Ward would be the better player than Joe Adell. Everybody was just talking about Joe Adell, and Joe Adell, I think, was just sent down. So it just goes to show I can't remember Taylor Ward being talked about as the next wonder of the world, if you will.
No, and his first 2 seasons were really underwhelming. I mean, they were small sample sizes, but they were underwhelming, But I mean, he's found something this season.
A little before we close out here, I do like to do this when the Rays face a a foreign opponent or opponent that they don't face very often. Former Rays alert. Matt Duffy is on the 40-man roster of the LA Angels. So is Aaron Loop, Andrew Velasquez, and Kenny Rosenberg as well, former Rays farmhand. And a little USF shout out, Jimmy Herget, former pitcher for the Bulls, is on the roster. So there we go.
Do you think we're going to win this series?
I don't know. I would, if we're just looking at it, I would say no, but I think they're going to be very, very good games.
I'm going to say yes. They're going to win. They're going to win the series. Yeah.
Springs versus Syndergaard. That's an L. Kluber versus Detmers.
That's a W.
That's a W. McClanahan versus Ohtani.
Maybe hoping
McClanahan, Meatball McClanahan makes an appearance with all the power that the Angels have, and Ohtani throws a dominating performance. The splitter, the Rays can't hit it, and the Rays go into their off day losing a series. But it's not the end of the world.
On the contrary, they're going to get out of LA or Anaheim rather with a W. Shane McClanahan actually goes deep. Ohtani gets hit around a little bit. He has to be taken out by the 5th. Okay. That's what's happening.
Oh, yeah. Put your money where your mouth is on Bet Online.
There you go.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come out with cashola. All right. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.